Hospitality to me really means taking care of a stranger and providing them and helping them in a way. It doesn't have to be a lot, it can also just be a small thing like saying hi or good morning. So I've been to a lot of different cultures and I've seen that the hospitality in every culture is different. I have a lot of friends from different countries and I was wondering how they see hospitality and how their country or their culture is hospitable. I asked some of my friends to describe hospitality, what it means to them and their culture, and also to see what their opinion is if their culture is hospitable or if it's not. Which culture are you from? Like, where are you from?
I'm from Holland, from the Netherlands.
I'm Dutch.
I'm from Italy.
I'm from the Canary Islands.
I consider myself French.
I'm from Hong Kong.
I'm from Vietnam.
I'm from Vietnam.
I'm half German, half Japanese.
I'm from Germany.
Well, I'm from Poland.
Warsaw, it's the capital.
I'm half Dutch, half Indian.
Okay, so I'm half Belgian, half Nigerian, but I've lived in Kenya my whole life.
What is hospitality to you?
Well, in Japan you have like a hospitality concept called omotenashi, which is quite like a very elaborated concept. It focuses on anticipation of the guest's needs, other people's needs, like in everyday life as well, anticipation of needs and personal attention. Commercially, that kind of means that the customer is caught, they do everything for the guest or the customer.
I think it's giving a feeling and not just, you deliver a service with it, but in general for me it's like delivering a feeling and making other people happy.
Hospitality to me means to be very welcoming to other people and be accepting of other people, to be who you are with someone else.
To me, it means being very kind to other people, and hospitality originates from the way I was brought up. So my parents, like the basic hospitality for me is especially when I have people over at my place. And I always propose them if they wanted something to drink, something to eat.
Making someone feel welcome, but also just genuinely taking care of their needs and wants.
Hospitality to me means basically accepting everyone for who they are.
Hospitality means that smile.
Hospitality means that it comes out of your heart, and it's important that you try to welcome people.
Do you think that your culture is hospitable?
Yes. I don't think Hong Kong people are very hospitable, to be honest.
It's a very hospitable culture. Hospitality is a big part of the culture, so not just commercially, which you just mentioned, but also really in everyday life. So not only in hotels, but in shops, on the street even, like you see that Japan is very service-oriented. You see how people really try to make life easy for other people, so everything is very convenient, very fast, like transportation is very connected, very fast, no delays. You have vending machines everywhere, you have convenience stores open 24 hours. People are always smiling and bowing, like really, everywhere you go, you don't meet a grumpy person in shops or in and everywhere. It's also more than just, it's very deep in society, because also what you notice is that there's no trash anywhere, like no litter. People don't litter, although there are no trash cans.
Now, again, it depends, because if we're talking about welcoming people, it is, but in my part of Poland. Because I know that in different parts of Poland it's not that hospitable. So now, as a country, I don't know if I would regard the country as hospitable overall, because we are very close-minded.
No.
Why?
Because of what I observe, what I see everyday life.
Yeah, I do think so, because that might be a part of our tradition, that we are very friendly and we welcome people.
In a way, yes, but sometimes also not. Germans are very organized and everything has to be on point, so they want to make everything perfect, but it's also when it comes to numbers. So sometimes they are not that open, they are not having that open and nice culture.
In India, I would say people are very hospitable, people are very kind and very open and will invite you to their house immediately.
Especially my Nigerian side, yeah, I feel like I've seen a lot of hospitable behavior from them. My Kenyan side is a bit like, in the middle. The Belgian side, I'm not saying it's not hospitable, but compared to what I have been exposed to, I would say it's not. No.
And I think the people there is really kind and hospitable because they always take care of people.
I think there are a lot of people in our culture who are hospitable, but I think there are also a lot of people who are not hospitable. Alright, when you are hospitable, it's from your heart, but I think not everyone's hospitable.
So what do you do when you meet a stranger on the street?
Well, if it's like from my culture, like Canarian, I think if he starts a conversation and I do, it's just normal conversation.
With too many people really, like you can't say hi, you know. I mean, maybe if you're like really next to you, your neighbor, then you will. But then sometimes, like, or most of the times, you just don't really do it.
I will avoid that person.
In case I'm in their way, I would go to the other side. Not the other side of the street, but the other side of the path.
Yeah. In India, I feel like everyone is a lot more relaxed and you can go up to anyone you want. And it doesn't feel like force, it's just very calm.
In Kenya, people will be more willing to approach you, but it doesn't mean that you will talk to strangers. In Nigeria, like if you see strangers, they're always going to talk to you. How are you? How's this? Blah, blah, blah.
Just nod and smile or say hi.
I keep walking. I look at them and I would say hi.
What do you do when you see a beggar on the street or a homeless person on the street?
It really depends on the situation. If I see someone who is very poor, I will help that person. But in Vietnam, this case is very confusing because there are some people taking the advantage of like for example, being handicapped. They pretend that they are handicapped, but actually they're not. So they begging for food or money. In some case, I just walk away because it's so popular in my country that people are taking the advantage of other people.
Sometimes I give money if they say something to me like hello, or I tend to say hello back. But many people just ignore them.
I have to say, sometimes I feel bad, so I stop and sometimes I ask, can I get you something? Especially normally they are like in front of shops or supermarkets, so I would ask, can I bring you something? Because giving money is always, I don't know. So not always, but sometimes, and especially when you see them there sitting there all the time, then I tend to ask whether I can like just buy them something.
I give them some coins.
It depends. It also depends where you are in India, because I know that in Goa, where my mom is from, it's like on the coast, there's not a lot of beggars, so if you do see one, you would be more like approachable to them, or you would help them. But if it was in like Bombay and there's beggars everywhere, you would have to ignore them.
I think there are like two types of homeless people. The one that just sit there and ask for money or something. Normally, like also my people from my age, I think they will not pay attention to them. But if there are people that are asking maybe for food or something, that they're not asking for money really, only for food because they don't have anything to eat. And they normally, they're normally in front of supermarkets or stuff. If I'm with my mom or something, I will always buy something for them.
This is a little like complicated kind of because like beggars, people will have pity for them because maybe we should help, government, blah blah, too many stuff. Not to that. But then in Hong Kong, like there are cases or like they're on the news that people actually pretend to be one. To be honest, like most of the times when I see beggars, I don't really do anything now.
Do you think that then there's a difference in your culture between hospitality towards a tourist and somebody from like Poland?
In general, people are more hospitable towards Polish people, but then again, depends what situation and where.
There's a very big difference, I think, because when you're French people, if, for example, I'm into different schools, all the French people will come together and have a French community because all the French people just go together and for them there's much more hospitality towards each other, they have a connection and it makes them more hospitable towards each other, while a stranger who does not speak the French language is kind of outside the boundaries, so they don't feel as close a connection with them and will not want to be hospitable with them.
Yeah, definitely. Like if I'm saying that I'm Vietnamese and I'm going to my country and people act like their behavior to me like it's fine, like they don't really show their friendliness. Like if you go into my country, you can see the difference that people really trying to have you, and they, especially the teenagers, like their new generation, they really want to improve their English, and they really want to be open, and they want to get away with their traditional thinking. They want to get away with old-fashioned way of thinking, so they really want to open to new cultures, especially from Western cultures.
I think towards white guests in India, if you go to the beach, for example, they are very hospitable and they're, I would say, nicer. But if you are like a South Indian coming to Goa, they're not as welcoming, I would say.
Definitely. When I look at Kenya, for example, again, of course, they're more hospitable towards tourists because, of course, these are people they want to impress, they want to get their money, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know how genuine it is, but yeah, they are more hospitable towards tourists. In Nigeria, I would say no, because they're just all like very hospitable towards each other, very open, friendly.
Yeah, I think that happens to mostly everywhere in Asia.
No. If you pay for hospitality, so commercial hospitality, I think in Holland the providers often see you as an equal.
Well, there's always, I think, a difference because with the tourists, I think you will speak in English, and with the Canary you will speak in your own native language. Even if you don't know, it will be more informal, more friendly, and with the tourists will be always more formal, more respectful maybe, and try them to be comfortable.
Well, I would say if you're in like a more local restaurant, maybe there's a difference, because in local restaurants they're like smaller, like people, you know, the waiters, they may not be able to speak English very well. That's why it's like a little difficult. Also, it's like because of the language barrier somehow.
Do you believe that hospitality in your culture is genuine?
I don't know. For me and the southern part of Poland, it is genuine. But for the part above, I can't really speak about it.
No, I don't think so.
At some point, I think it's genuine because it's part of how people are brought up, that they have a deep respect for other people. But on the other hand, if you experience that like perfectionist service and stuff, it's so based on etiquette and rules, and people learn it. I think it's more about people taking commitment and pride in the work and want to do it perfect than actually genuine motive.
Yes, I would say that. Because in India there was an accident a while ago in Bombay with a train, and multiple people died, and there was also a flood. And the rich who like lost their homes and stuff were being taken care of by the poor who had nothing, and they were making samosas on the street and feeding the rich. So yeah, I would say so.
When I look at Kenya, I would say not always. It's not always genuine. I feel like maybe because of, I know how Kenyan people can be. I'm not saying everyone, but a lot of them can be a bit like, what's the underlying motive behind this hospitable behavior? In Nigeria, I would say it's very genuine, yeah.
Yeah, in my city, yes. There's always the stall of water, like bottle of water, like really big, 10 liters or something. They just sat there at the stall in front of their house, and they have the cart just like water for free.
Not really.
Well, I think if there is hospitality, it's genuine, but I think there's just not a lot of hospitality in the culture. In the industry, yes, but in the Dutch culture, no.
What is the most hospitable situation that you've experienced in Japanese culture?
When a vending machine wished me good morning. I was like at the vending machine, I was in front of my house, and I was getting something, and they were like, oh, good morning. And then they were like, I think this is something about a drink, I don't remember, like, oh, good choice, I don't know. And then they were like, oh, I wish you a very productive day.
I can like really mention one because I haven't experienced like really hospitable culture.
I know growing up as a child, whenever I'd go to Nigeria, like my family would always be so just, hospitable, let's say. In terms of like, every time you go somewhere, you go to someone's house, you have to like have a drink, you have to have something to eat, blah blah blah. Also, for example, I remember I went to sleep over at a friend's house in Nigeria, and she was like, no, Val, you have to sleep in my bed, I'll sleep on the mattress, you know, things like that, those small things. I wouldn't see that a lot on this side of the world necessarily.
Well, I know that if you go to any Indian home, everyone tries to feed you all the time. As soon as you walk in, they'll always ask you, do you want anything to drink? Do you want anything to eat? And they'll always try to feed you. I think that like, the food that they try to give you is what brings you together.
For example, my mom worked with refugees. I think that's also she is also really hospitable to welcome them and to teach them and to help them to understand the rules we have in Holland.
My grandma, she invites the homeless people sometimes to her house. That she meets on the street and she just talks to them and buys them food where she doesn't really have much money. She buys them, for example, bread.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like, she spreads happiness.
What do you think somebody from a different culture could learn from hospitality in your culture?
Maybe that hospitality and service belong together, so you can be really nice, but you also have to have a good quality to make the people really happy.
I think what's really nice is that the French people towards each other are amazing. They're really nice, they're really open and very like, they have a real community.
Maybe being a little bit more spontaneous.
I think that's quite nice to think a little more about not only what do you want.
Some people could learn how to receive guests.
Holland, I think, could learn from India that you just have to be more genuine and just have to be more warm and open to meeting and being acceptable to other people.
To be more kind of open.
It's not like general Holland or general the Netherlands, but when I look at my culture in Rotterdam, I think they can learn that they just can say whatever they think. Oh, I mean, in a nice way.
Like more polite, and they really put me in like the very first place and stuff, other things.
Mm-hmm. Traditions, maybe. Like family. Family is very important in Poland.
I think we're always, with a smile on our face, we're always like very friendly.
Do you still think that your culture is very hospitable?
Yeah.
Yeah, mostly yes.
Yes. Yes, it's hospitable, but it's like, I don't know, instrumentalized or like it's conceptualized hospitality.
Yeah, I still think so.
I would say so. I think India for sure. Holland is getting there.
Pretty hospitable, I think, Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, as I said, it's like really international and they have like a lot of tourists visiting.
I don't think Poland is very hospitable, but I think it's hospitable to a certain extent. I don't think it's the least hospitable country, but I wouldn't put it at the top.
It's still not? It's not like totally not, like there's nothing hospitable. Of course there's this family community, the neighborhoods, like I said.
I think it's the same as what I said before, but when I compare it with other countries, we can learn a lot, I think. Mm-hmm. It's from our heart. Okay, alright, when you are hospitable, it's from your heart, but I think not everyone's hospitable. And when I look at other countries, you see like everyone is hospitable and they don't fake it, so we can learn something.
As we can see throughout all the interviews, all cultures are different, and of course my friends can't represent the whole of a certain culture, but they can provide some insights into the culture. Also, everybody who lives in a country also expects some type of hospitality from their culture and from everybody else in that same country in this one type of way or another. I really do believe that if somebody wants to be received hospitable, that they should be hospitable in the first place, because obviously hospitality is a reciprocating process. I don't think that there's one culture that really has the perfect hospitality, also because in every single culture there are differences in regards to what is expected and what isn't. So therefore I do believe that people should travel the world and they should learn from each other, and that way every single culture can become a bit more hospitable, even if certain cultures aren't hospitable right now.